kind of figure it out and get to a better place about it, because the game is different. Like I want people to understand, and our fans to understand, that playing 82 games in the 80s and 90s is not the same as playing 82 games in the 2020s. It's just not. The way we play, the level of pace, the level of the speed that we're playing at, it's a different game now. It's a totally different game. And, it's a lot of soft tissue injuries that's happened now because of it. I hope we can get a handle on that as well, because that's big in our game. I think when I first came into the league, Reese, like some of the biggest concerns of injuries was like, a high ankle sprain. You was afraid to step on somebody's ankle because there was 4 or 5 guys sitting in the paint. So, guys with athleticism, myself, Tracy McGrady, Vince Carter, to name a couple guys, sometimes you're afraid to take off into the lane because there was 4 or 5 guys sitting in the paint. And if you land on somebody's ankle, you get a high ankle sprain, you out 4 to 6 weeks. Now that's not really much of you don't really see that as much now because the game is so spread open, it's so much pace. But now you see the new high ankle sprain is the calf.
Right.
So, hopefully we could get a handle on that from a medical standpoint. But it's just a game. I just want the fans to understand that the game is a little different.
Yo, goat, my goat, they goat. LeGoat James, a.k.a. LeBron James, says on the podcast that he had with J.J. Redick, but I guess he took J.J. out and he has revolving guest. This time with Tyrese Halliburton, he says that the NBA today is tougher because of the pace. I was watching Rob Parker podcast, Rob and Rob on Fox. They did the research and said in the 90s pace, the 80s pace, the worst pace in the 80s was exactly what it is right now. So they played at, like they said, 96. Right now it's 96. So every other year in the 80s, the pace was higher than it is in the current generation. And LeBron just say blanket statements for a guy that knows the history about the sport. He says blanket statements because he's really a narc. He's a narcissist. He wants people to believe that he's so great. One thing about Michael Jordan, you don't see him going around trying to convince people of his greatness. LeBron has have to sell himself to people. And you didn't play in the toughest era. You can't touch people. That's thanks to Jordan. You can't be as physical. You can't get clothesline. It's not as physical. Just last year, he was complaining about how too physical the playoffs are from the regular season and we should get a month off to prepare our bodies for the physicality. That little playoff physicality that they was doing last year, that ain't nothing compared to the 90s. You know what I'm saying? What Jordan was going through in the 80s. In the 70s, he just making blanket statements. And then when you go look at points per game in the 80s, I've done videos about this before, I believe. Go look at how many points per game they were scoring. In the 90s, it was 80 to 90, 90 to 70, shit like that. In the 80s, they was attempting 3-pointers a game, each team, so around 6, and they still was averaging 109, 110 plus points a game. That one of the highest scoring games in history between the Denver Nuggets and Detroit Pistons, they only took like a handful of 3-pointers. I think they only made like 2 in the game, right? So, however you want to say it, us who really know basketball and watch the 90s and know about the 80s and watch the 2000s, we know it ain't the toughest era in basketball you're playing. It's the weakest era in basketball. These guys, they be like, oh, they're such great athletes. They can't even play 82 games. So how great are you if you can't play 82 games? I'm just asking. Routinely, Michael played it. Stockton played it. Malone played it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to remember at one point, they were taking charter buses around the country. At one point, they was taking domestic flights around the country. Wasn't no PJ. The first private jet was the Detroit Pistons, rest in peace, owner Bill Davidson, who also owned the Tampa Bay Lightning. That was the first PJ in NBA history. Before that, Wilton was hooping in Chuck Taylor's, getting off a fucking, a bus. So you got all these trainers, all this nutrition. You ain't really have all that shit back then like that. So his continued disrespect, well, Giannis would get 1,000 points back in the day when all the continued disrespect. Well, I don't believe Wilt scored 100 points. I'm paraphrasing, but that's what he said. This is just ego to make people think how great he was. And it's just turning people off. Let people determine your greatness. He's a great basketball player, one of the greatest I've ever seen. But it turns you off when you really trying to lobby for you're not the greatest, bro. You got your ass whooped in the finals so many times. You had JJ Barea lock you up. How can you be the GOAT? You let JJ Barea lock you up. How can you be the GOAT? You had to go to another nigga's team and tag up to get a championship. You couldn't get it done in Cleveland. You know, and we just keeping it a beam. Well, Kevin Durant, y'all hated him because he did it correctly. Kevin Durant is a low maintenance player. He gonna defend, he can play with, without the basketball. He fit in very well in Golden State. I'm not saying what he did was right. Don't really care. LeBron did it first. But, excuse me. But yeah, you know, you want to convince everybody and put yourself on that pedestal, so be it. But anybody see what you're doing. Everybody see what you're doing. So I don't really understand his angle and shit. I don't. I really don't understand his angle. Like, okay, man, damn. And they gonna talk about we not gonna be like the old heads who be hating. Nigga, you hating on the old heads. All this technology from trainers and physicians and shoes and all this different technology, and y'all still can't stay healthy. And then traditionally, a lot of the dribbling they doing out there will be called a travel. And you have people in the well, they were so limited back in. No, nigga, that's a travel. All that shit you see them doing today, the palming, the traveling, taking multiple steps, the carrying, that's a travel or a carry or a palm. That's just what it is. Like they just tried to bend the rules for entertainment purposes. But by the book, it's a travel. You know, but, you know, it is what it is. Hold on. It is what it is. But, you know, that's the type of shit, you know, type of games we playing, bro. LeBron is just an Ohio hater. Not an Ohio player. That nigga's an Ohio hater. He can't even get over the fact that how can I not be better than Jordan? TV viewerships dip down. Your shoes is trash. The whole thing you pulled, the nepotism shit you pulled with your son. Telling people when you lost to Dallas to go back to their miserable lives. Fucking asshole. Fucking narc. He did all that dancing in Cleveland. As soon as they got to play, get their ass beat, you want to cry and run off the court. I got to build a team. I got to build Voltron to beat Boston. Niggas was 60 years old, bro. You eventually would have destroyed them. In Cleveland. You know, but, you know, some people just arrogant. And when you arrogant like that, you'll never get your respect. Where's the humility? You know, where's the humility? But hey, check out the NBA Talk playlist. Thumbs up the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel. Next subscribe button is the bell icon button. Hit all notifications, increase your chance, get notifications. We go live and drop video. Follow me on X, Facebook, Kick, Twitch, Patreon, everything in the link. The first link in the description. Appreciate y'all, man. Let me know what you girls and guys think in the comment section. One time for the one time Goodfella TV. Peace.